public enemy number one.
He ruled the streets of Chicago through fear during most of Prohibition. And yet, the last known photo of Al Capone is surprisingly gentle. Taken a month before he died,
there are some notorious gangsters whose names are still remembered even though the owner is long gone. Like well-known characters from gruesome crime movies, their names and bloodthirsty deeds have become legendary. Today, we're going to explore the story of one of history's most notorious and terrifying gangsters as we examine the life of Al Capone, also known as Scarface. From his dealings during the Prohibition era of the 1920s to the iconic event that cemented his ruthless rule of the criminal underworld, the infamous St Valentine's Day massacre. Al Capone's life and legacy has become intertwined with the American criminal landscape due to his business acumen, political savvy, and violent tactics. Stay tuned for today's bite-sized episode from Crimewatch HQ, The Gangster Chronicles. Bootlegging to Bloodshed, Al Capone's terrifying legacy. Alphonse Gabriel Capone was born in Brooklyn, New York on January 17, 1899. He used violence and illegal activity to pave the way to become the most notorious gangster in American history, having started running with gangs from his teen years when he was part of the New York 5 Points gang. It was his move to Chicago in his 20s that truly marked his rise in the criminal world, though. During the Prohibition era, Chicago was a city rife with corruption and opportunity, and Capone quickly advanced through the ranks of the Chicago Outfit, a famous gang of its time headed by Johnny Torrio and protected politically by the Union Sicilia, the Italian-American National Union which was based in Chicago. Following Torrio's brush with death during a gunfight with another gang, he stepped aside, leaving Capone at age 26 to officially take over the Chicago Outfit, marking the beginning of his reign of terror. The manufacturing, sale, and distribution of alcoholic drinks in the United States were outlawed from 1920 to 1933, the years known as the Prohibition era. Capone took advantage of the situation by starting a sizable bootlegging enterprise, working with Canadian bootleggers to import illegal alcohol to supply speakeasies all around Chicago. He made millions of dollars from his illegal business and established himself as the de facto king of the city's illicit booze trade. With Mayor William Hale Thompson and the Chicago Police Department in his pocket, he was protected by the highest levels of society. Interestingly, Capone, a jazz fan, also enlisted members of the black community to help increase his territory, and even paid for bodyguards to accompany famed black pianist Earl Hines on a tour. Capone's business dealings went far beyond bootlegging, however. He was in charge of prostitution, drugs, and gambling, and he did this by employing force and terror. Capone was unmatchable in his ferocity, with multiple hit and runs on members of rival gangs, law enforcement officers, and anybody else who dared to oppose him. The Chicago Outfit rose to fame as the city's most potent criminal gang under Al Capone's direction. He tactfully manipulated a vast network of bribes and political contacts to ensure that law enforcement, lawmakers, and even judges overlooked his illicit activities. Capone was able to work with almost complete impunity with his exceptional control, which further upgraded his status as the most powerful leader of organized crime in Chicago and arguably in the whole of the U.S. To keep his position of power and get rid of any unwanted threats, Capone used severe violence, which terrified everyone. His enforcers, known as the Outfit, were brutal in their tactics, using bombings, killings, and drive-by shootings to dismantle rival gangs and bolster Capone's authority. Due to Capone's reputation for ruthlessness, both his opponents and potential witnesses recruited to testify against him feared his reprisal. Capone's reputation extended far beyond the streets as panic spread throughout the population of Chicago. In 1924, Al Capone killed Dion O'Banion, who was the head of the North Side Gang and a rival bootlegger. The assassination of O'Banion signaled a crucial turning point in Capone's ascent to power. The opposing gangs engaged in a wave of retaliatory violence in response, heightening tensions and causing further carnage. This incident portrayed Capone's determination to get rid of anyone standing in his way and allowed him to make his authority over Chicago's criminal underworld. Capone's illicit activities did not go unchallenged. During the Prohibition era, competing gangs tried to take control of the lucrative alcohol distribution channels, fiercely competing with Capone's bootlegging empire. Bloodshed occurred more frequently between the gangs that competed for domination and control of the territory. As competing gangs fought over control of the illegal alcohol trade, shootings, bombings, and assassinations increased in frequency, coming to be known as the Beer Wars. Unfortunately, these wars not only killed gangsters, but also many innocent bystanders. The Pineapple Primary of 1926 was another notable historical event in Capone's ascent to power. The North Side group, led by George Bugs Moran, was the target of an attack by Al Capone's group. They mistakenly intended to murder Moran at his headquarters, but killed several innocent bystanders. This incident showed Capone's callous disdain for human life as he pursued power and inflamed the continuing gang conflict in Chicago. A string of targeted murders and gangland killings were a part of Capone's rule. These violent crimes frequently targeted members of Capone's own crew as well as rival gang members. To get rid of alleged dangers and keep control over criminal activity, Capone used shootings, ambushes, and executions. As he worked to destroy his enemies and grow his criminal empire, there was constant carnage on the streets of Chicago. The St. Valentine's Day massacre in 1929 is possibly the most terrible event associated with Al Capone's reign. Following years of rivals trying to have Capone killed by offering bounties to hitmen, Capone organized the killing of 7 members of the North Side Organization, a rival organization led by George Bugs Moran in a ruthless show of power. 4 of Capone's goons masquerading as police officers carried out the savage killings, shocking the country and enhancing Capone's reputation as a cold-blooded mobster. For years, Capone appeared invincible, but his illicit activity caught the eye of the authorities, particularly FBI agent Elliot Ness. In 1934, Capone was committed to the notorious Alcatraz Island Federal Penitentiary after being found guilty of tax evasion. His arrest dealt a serious blow to his criminal business because it revealed the corruption inside his own crew. Capone was given an 11-year federal prison term. However, due to his affliction with syphilis, Capone's health worsened while he was serving his imprisonment. Hence, he was freed in 1939 and lived the rest of his life in seclusion. He finally died in 1947. Being incarcerated brought Capone's reign of terror to an end, but his frightening reputation and bloodthirsty legacy was still alive. From his beginnings during the Prohibition era, he became the face of organized crime, representing the sinister side of American culture. The criminal underground was forever changed by Capone's ferocity and strategic methods, which influenced the following mobster generation's tactics and strategies. Al Capone's ascent and collapse had a significant influence on law enforcement protocols in America. Due to his illegal actions, the federal government decided to become more involved in the fight against organized crime, which resulted in the creation of specialist groups like the FBI's Organized Crime Division. The hunt for Capone and his eventual conviction also gained importance in law enforcement agencies, which increased the value of punishing offenders for tax evasion and financial crimes, encouraging more examination of illegal sources of revenue. Despite the notorious reputation and illicit activities of Capone, he gained a reputation as a humanitarian figure with the public. He made some generous donations during many events, especially during the Great Depression. It helped him win the respect and support of the general public. However, some people also believe that Capone used his charitable activities as a smokescreen so that his public image could be restored. As Al Capone grew more famous, he caught the attention of the media, serving as the basis for several books, newspapers, movies, and television series. His legacy has been preserved by the shows like The Untouchables and the television series Boardwalk Empire. The reputation of Al Capone and his recognizable scarred visage has become the stereotype for a merciless mobster. Al Capone's horrific legacy of killing, both of rivals and innocent citizens, marks him to this day as one of America's most notorious gangsters. From his ascent to prominence in Chicago's criminal underworld to the bloodshedding reign of terror he imposed, his name is permanently a part of mafia history in the United States. Ultimately, Capone's downfall came with his conviction for tax evasion and his imprisonment at Alcatraz. While his empire crumbled, his legacy still stood firm. He became an emblem of organized crime, shaping the tactics and strategies of future mobsters. He also left a massive impact on law enforcement, leading to greater efforts to combat organized crime and the establishment of specialized divisions to tackle this menace. From bootlegging to bloodshed, Al Capone's legacy is indeed terrifying.